Man, this game is really odd. Oh, I didn't notice you there. Hi, Lytane here. And did you know that I've been playing games and talking about movies and shows for a year now? That's right, let that just sink in for a second. I started my Is It Worth It series a year ago now. And in memory of my 1 year celebration, I'm going to be doing a review on an even odder game than my first review was on. That's right, I'm going to be taking a look at Oddworld, Abe's Exoddus. Now, something that I didn't address really well and I regret from my first Oddworld video is the rich history of the company and games. This game was made by a then new company named Oddworld Inhabitants with the founders Sherry McKenna and Lorne Lanning, who is one of the best and oddest minds in all of gaming. Lorne Lanning had this idea to build a world full of strange and wonderful creatures, to have a full ecosystem with both characters and animals on many different continents. This Oddworld would also have a few points about some of the things that we do in our world, but told in an extreme and funny way. They had planned for 5 different heroes to answer the call and go on an adventure to essentially help save their races and the world. Each character would go on an odyssey, a form of awakening, where they would have to overcome great odds to save the day. They were made to be weak characters as well, very little to defend themselves and died very easily to add to their turmoil. The first character created was our beloved Abe. He is a Mudoken, a race on the planet that has been usually used as slaves for a very long time. Abe works for Rupture Farms, an abattoir that makes all of the best foods for everyone. Abe was a model employee but learns a secret that he wasn't supposed to. The Gluckens, the race in charge of the factory, are going to turn the Mudokens into food for the other inhabitants. Abe can't have that, and as such he escapes. This leads him on an adventure where he learns that he has a destiny. He has been chosen, so to speak, to save all of his people from the factory and elsewhere in the world, and is given some powers to do so, like the power to turn into Shrike-Hole. At the end of the game, you do just that. You save all the Mudokens and everyone lives happily ever after. Abe's Odyssey was such a hit for the company that they decided that they wanted to explore the character more and give him another game. They also chose to do this because the publishers wanted a new game in the series to cash in on the popularity, and it was just easier to create this than it was to move on to another character in the quintology. Just over a year later in 1998, Oddworld Abe's Exoddus was released, and boy was it a step up over the first game. Once again, as the name says, you play as Abe and the game picks up moments after the first one left off. You are happy and celebrating after saving all 99 Mudokens, but clumsy old Abe falls off his high rock and dies. The end. Roll credits. Nah, that would have made for a shit game. Instead, in his dead state, other dead Mudokens talk to Abe and tell him that the Gluckens are harvesting the bones of the Mudoken ancestors in order to turn them into a drink called Soulstorm. This drink is highly addictive and has very bad effects on Mudokens when they drink it. What's worse is that the Gluckens are using Mudoken slaves to dig up the bones. That is just perverse on so many levels, and they have their eyes sewn shut just so they don't see the horror of what they are doing. So Abe gets over being dead, of course, and sets off to stop the evil that he just learned about with a few others. The problem is, after a long walk in the desert, they stop and drink some Soulstorm. Idiots. So now it's all up to Abe. He has to stop a new factory, learn some new powers and abilities to combat the new enemies, and save 300 Mudokens now. Oh, and fart. That's important. So as you can see, the team at Oddworld Inhabitants really wanted to put their all into their very next game, and they just really wanted to expand upon the universe that they just created. A universe of interconnected heroes that go on to save the day. Reminds me of something, but this was done 10 years before we even started like the MCU and the DCU and stuff, so kudos to them for doing something cool like that. It may seem really normal now, you have an interconnected universe, but back then it really wasn't. No one did this kind of thing. If you made a game and then you made a sequel to that game, usually it has the same characters or the same concept. It didn't have everything different like the Oddworld games did. Lorne Lanning had 5 different characters that he wanted to tell the stories of in the Oddworld quintology, but as with any creator, as soon as he made Oddworld Abe's Exoddus, he got other ideas and he just wanted to put those into motion as well, which is why we got Abe's Exoddus. Although it isn't part of the actual quintology per se, it's more like a bonus game, some extra story to make the world bigger. In fact, the Oddworld series has had 9 games as of making this video, and most of them aren't even in the quintology. You got Abe's Odyssey, which is part of the quintology, then you have Exoddus, which is a sequel and not part of it, then you have Munch's Odyssey, which is one of the quintology, and then you have Stranger's Wrath, which isn't, New and Tasty, which is a remake, Pocket Adventures, which is also remakes, and then you've got you got HD remakes for the Oddworld, Munch's Odyssey, and Stranger's Wrath. So out of 9 games, only 2 of them are in the quintology. What's even more crazy is it has been 20 years since the first game in the quintology came out. Come on, Lorne Lanning, get onto the 3rd one already. I cannot tell you how this made me feel as a kid. Opening up that game case for the very first time, putting Oddworld Abe's Odyssey into my PlayStation, looking at the booklet to learn all the different characters, the different worlds, the different moves and everything. And then when you finish this book, you turn it over and on the back cover had this really dark and ominous thing, and it said Oddworld Quintology, and it gave a brief description of what the Oddworld Quintology was going to be and how he had an idea for 5 different heroes in the universe, and just Abe is just one small pocket in this overall Oddworld. This made me so excited. This was just such a unique idea. The fact that the manual teased at future games and future characters, and then after I played Oddworld and just absolutely loved it to death, I wanted more and I could not wait to get to the next characters. That being said, I have played Munch's Odyssey, which is part 2, and I'm still waiting for part 3, which is going to be Squeak's Odyssey. Only like 20 years in waiting. So enough about the history of the games, let's actually talk about the actual game! Now the gameplay in this is extremely similar to the original. It is still a 2D side-scrolling adventure that is mostly about solving puzzles and a few action sequences. You can also do almost all of the same moves that you can in the original as well. You can run, sneak, jump, pick up and throw objects, talk to other people, and chant to possess things. This game expands upon your possession as well, allowing you to possess more than just sligs. You can now possess paramites and scrabs amongst other characters in this game. This adds more variety to the gameplay and to the puzzles as well. Possessing the scrab allows you to run and leap large gaps, but they are very territorial, so if you see any other scrab, then you must fight it in a whirlwind of death, which is such a good way of getting rid of them. All the paramites need to work together to do tasks because they are more like a hive. Honestly, nearly everything the first game did, this game tried to outdo. They also added a few new moves into the mix for this game, like an ability to fart, which is actually pretty important because Soulstorm doesn't affect Abe in the same way that it does the others, and it makes his farts toxic, so you can actually possess them. Yep, you can control your farts and make them fly around, and the best part is that you can detonate them to kill bad guys or get rid of some obstacles, which is so satisfying. They didn't just expand upon the moves, oh no, they wanted to make the world of Odd feel so much more real, so they included emotions and status effects on the Mudokens that you are now trying to rescue. Some of them are angry and won't listen to you when you tell them to do something, even slapping you as you walk past them. Some of them are blind and you have to tell them when to follow you because they'll just keep walking until you say stop. This means that they'll walk into traps or off of ledges because they just don't know any better. These work themselves into the puzzles as well, where you have to sometimes manipulate how the Mudokens are feeling in order to get them to do what you want. This is where most of the puzzles in the factory sections lay. In the first game, you are the one solving the puzzles, the others just sort of stand around and do what you say. You are the one pulling the levers, making it safe to get to the portal, but in Exoddus, you have to tell them to work. They can pull levers, use valves and ropes in order to solve the puzzles in order to save them. To go hand in hand with this, they added so many more Mudokens at 300 to rescue. Now, one major complaint about the first game is that you can only talk to one guy at a time in order to rescue them. Not here, there's an Olia shout to talk to them all at once. This is so good you do not understand. Controlling so many Mudokens and getting them to follow you to safety or solve puzzles is simply fantastic. Olia! Follow me. Work! There. Yay! I'll also like to point out that one of my favorite parts in this game is the end of the Paramite's temple. This game likes to test you and train you in order to get good at solving puzzles, but this is a race for your life. There aren't too many action sequences in this game, so when you enter the tomb, you start getting chased by these paramites and you have to run, jump, roll, and climb to safety. If you make a single mistake, you're dead. No questions asked. It is so much fun and intense, and I love the shadow look to this part where you just see the spider-like paramites descending from the ceiling. Oh, it's so cool. While the game itself feels like an upgrade to just about every single thing that the first game did, I personally have a couple of complaints that this game didn't address. The first is that the areas in this game are not nearly as memorable as the original. Whenever I think about Abe's Odyssey, I can name, or think about at least, all of the different areas, from the Rapture Farms at the beginning to the Escape, and then the Stockyards after that, the Paramite Temple, the Scrab Temple, getting Shrikle, returning to Rapture Farms, and a few different areas in between that I just missed. But I can think of them because they're also unique and distinctive. This game, however, has fewer unique and distinct places. Soulstorm Brewery has a very Rapture Farms feel to it. Then you go to a different Paramite Temple and a different Scrab Temple. Just feels like the original. In a game that prides itself in being odd, it feels like there are fewer odd places in this world, and that it just feels like you're retreading some of the ones from the original game. It could be due to the hardware or the fact that they only had 1 year to create this new game, so they reused some assets from the original. I'm not sure. And it could be a little bit nostalgia talking as well. I may have finished number 2 more times than I've ever finished number 1, but I've probably played number 1 more, so I don't know, maybe it's just me. Another major setback that this game has is the story. Now don't get me wrong, I love the humor and the main idea for the story. Saving your ancestors' bones and stopping another factory is fine, you know, but once again it feels like more of the same. As I said, there are a few areas that feel like repeats, and it's the same with the story by the middle of the game. The start and end are great and really original and super fun, but then the middle lets it down. The first really felt more like a discovery of yourself and coming to terms with being a hero even when you didn't want to be. This is an extension of that, trying to show you what it takes to be a hero, but I don't think it's as strong. Even Lorne Lanning said that he wanted to make it an extension of the first game where they broke about physical slavery. Now this one was more mental. But due to the shorter time frame to make the game, he had to settle on a story just to be able to make deadlines, which is why he said the game has twice the gameplay but half the heart. One thing that wasn't changed in between games is the way that the game is laid out. It is still a single screen that you get to see, and as you walk off to the new screen, a new one loads, and sometimes it can get you into some pretty tricky situations where you don't know that there's a trap or a bad guy on the other screen, and you just die. And due to the fact that there are more complex puzzles and more things that you have to be taking care of and controlling, it can get really frustrated if you make one silly mistake and the Mudoken that you've been carrying around with you for like the whole thing just dies. Oh, so frustrating. Well, this looks safe. Wait a minute. I think I'm gonna try sneaking over to the next room. Sure showed that guy, that's for sure. Huh. Well, this is a cute little doggy. But they also added something fantastic to this game. A quick save option. No longer did you have to save at certain points, you could do it anywhere in the entire game pretty much. So now in the middle of a certain puzzle, you could save, and if you made an error, you could just reload it from that same point and you'll be able to continue. This is such a great addition, I cannot tell you enough, because it means that you don't have to do absolutely everything over again like you had to do in the original, but it can be a bit of a small problem if you forget to save, or if you save at a bad time and you accidentally die soon after the save. Well, yeah, sucks to be you. While minor, that can be pretty annoying. I also want to talk about the soundtrack to this game. Oh my god, is it amazing. It doesn't have the songs that you'll be humming or playing in your car, but it does have some of the most atmospheric music you could want. It is extremely similar to the first game in that regard, and both soundtracks are just so cool. Each song really suits the mood from the title screen to the end credits. The brewery has metallic sounds and feels cold, while the wilds have more drums and natural sounds to them. Some places and screens don't even use music and rely on just ambient sounds of the sewers or nature to make the world feel so alive. The sound design for this game is definitely a 10 out of 10, and it's just so delightful to listen to. Now, some slight spoilers for this game, though it is 19 years old. Come on, keep up, people. But if you really want to skip, it's going to be in this time signature here, so just jump ahead to there. So, there will be spoilers. You have been warned. The one thing I say that this game does way better than the first one is the ending. The first game had you very weak throughout the majority of it, and then gaining the power of Shriekel towards the end and only using it a very little bit to take down Rupture Farms. In this game, they go all out. You get to control Gluckens and order Sligs around to do your dirty work in order to destroy the company from the inside and gain access to higher floors, and it was just so much more involved than the first game. You also get to use Shriekel a lot more in the game, especially towards the end. Then you finally set the brewery to explode, and you have 4 minutes to make it out alive. Only you still have to rescue a few guys along the way. It is very stressful, hard, and fun, and a silly wrong move can result in you or somebody else's death. It was so satisfying seeing the good ending as well. As a kid, the best I ever did with this game without guides was maybe 264 or 274 Mudokens saved. Oh, so close. Oh well. All 300 just gets you an added message for a teaser for the next game in the series, Munch's Odyssey, and some concept art, which is nice, but I guess they could have put a little more into it for all that work that you just did. That's the end of the spoilers if you clicked ahead, and now let's finish off this review. Oddworld Abe's Exoddus is a very easy worth it, and no, it is not the nostalgia talking, it is actually a great game that still holds up today. Yes, the graphics may still be a little bit clunky towards new players because, you know, Abe kind of looks pixelated and stuff, but some of the backgrounds look gorgeous, the cinematics look gorgeous, and if you can just get over your hate of pixels on a screen, then it's fine. It is a fantastic game. All the puzzles are really, really good. The action sequences are really fun. All of the secrets, oh my god, the secrets galore in this game. So you'll be going back. If you don't use a guide, if you just play through it by yourself, you will definitely be going back because there's no way you will find everything on your first playthrough. That amount of replayability is fantastic, but if you do use a guide and you get all 300 in one sitting, it is still a superbly great experience. The music is top notch, and honestly, everything that the first game did well, this game just does better. From the fact that you can do a quick save, from the fact that the Mudokens are now more involved in the puzzles, to the fact that you can possess more things, including your farts. Like, come on, what other game lets you control your farts? It is still a very fun game and challenging as well, but it isn't without its flaws. The middle part of the story is weak compared to the first one, and the puzzles are a little bit more convoluted, so they can be a little frustrating to solve. And also the fact that when the screen changes, they didn't change the fact that bad guys and, you know, traps are on the other side on a new screen, so you just walk into a new screen and death. So they should have fixed those. If they had fixed those, then this game would have been even better than what it is, but still, even with that, I would say play it. Much like how the original game got remade and called New and Tasty, this game is also going through the same process. This new game is going to be called Soulstorm, and it's going to be in a similar style and gameplay as New and Tasty, but with the additions like moods from Exoddus. But this isn't going to be a retelling of the same game, no. Lorne Lanning wants to make the story so much better than the original. He is expanding on the original story and adding in things that got cut due to a short time frame. As such, it might turn out to be a drastically different game compared to the PS1, so in the future it might still be worth checking out the original, because even though there's a more updated game on the market, it will be very, very different in terms of gameplay and story. So guys, tell me what you thought about Oddworld Abe's Exoddus. It is a fantastic game. I know so many people that played it, and it really just shot Abe into like the stratosphere in terms of popularity. Too bad that everything after that he kind of fell down, which is going to be in the next year's video when I finally talk about the Oddworld game you watch. I'll make this a yearly thing. So guys, don't forget to cycle and subscribe, and like I said, tell me what you thought about Oddworld, like the whole game series as well, and if you got excited about the quintology like I did. Anyways, I've rambled on enough. Bye! So as you can see, Oddworld inhabitants really tried to learn their lines. Are they called Scrags? I should look this shit up, because that's a very important. Oddworld Scrags. Doing the research on camera this time. But Jesus. Lovingly luscious Lorne Lanning. I wanted to say it the whole time, Cadicarus. I can't actually fall over because I got bug leg.